Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning into the Bonus Point podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Tj Olsen, and I'm very excited and privileged to have our next guest on the show today. Just before we jump in, I want to thank our amazing sponsors. First off, Whalebird Kombucha. If you're looking for a great tasting beverage that is actually good for you, go try them out at your local Whole Foods, Air One, or other health food stores. Secondly, F45 Culver City. So F45 isn't just a gym, it's a real community, and their team are all here to help you achieve your fitness goals in sessions in just 45 minutes. They are still operating very safely during these new COVID-19 regulations that have been implemented here in Los Angeles. So reach out to them if you're looking to get some life-changing results. Our next guest is someone I've admired for many years, not only as a rugby player, but also as a broadcaster and a rugby analyst. You may know this man from his amazing career with the All Blacks Sevens, or heard his voice if you watched tournaments in the HSB Sevens, All Blacks games, or Super Rugby games. Please welcome former New Zealand Sevens player, current rugby analyst, and my guest at this time, Karl Tenana. Kia ora, Karl. How are you doing today?
Kia ora, brother. No, it's I don't mind a bit of kombucha myself. And F45, get amongst that. I'm actually still training with there. One of the boys from up north, he's got a spot out here with F45. It's good times. Hard.
Yeah, definitely hard. It's definitely something that it's not for the faint at heart, but it's a good workout. And when you come out to LA, I'll be sure to bring you a few samples of kombucha. I know it's good for the healthy guys. But before we get stuck into the show, I just want to thank you for all the funny homeschool of rugby videos and amazing workouts you held with KT's weekly boot camps with Joey D. What brought on the inspiration to do those?
It was with the tough times, and you guys are still going through it. And for me now, I'm a consultant for World Rugby, and hence why I go on all the Sevens tours and what have you. But we just thought of a way, speaking with World Rugby, to try and just not only get some content through to people, but have a bit of try and get a smile on people's faces, at the same time. And obviously using rugby as a vehicle. And Joey D, he's a young comedian coming up over here in New Zealand. He's my nephew, and he lives with me, so it was quite cool just to collaborate with him with the homeschooling and rugby. He was sort of like the director and cameraman and editor, and then I chucked him in to help me out with the boot camps as well. So it was cool vibing with him, and finally get him up to work because he hasn't paid his rent in 3 years. So finally do something.
On this episode of Homeschool of Rugby, we're going to go offloads. Like my mate Sonny Bill Williams, he's the master of the offload.
Hey Sonny, can we get a comment?
Nah, Bob. Hey Sonny, Chunters on a jersey? Yeah, cuz. Now there's three types of offloads. Around the back, there's behind the back, and then there's right over the back. Now the key to a master offload is to pick a weak shoulder, go through two defenders and offload. Something like this. Mum said you do the washing. That's this week's Homeschool of Rugby. On today's Homeschool of Rugby, we're going to talk about kicking. Now I've had a couple of tough situations in my time with kicking, whether it be the final of the 2001 Rugby World Cup of Sevens, or kicking my daughter out of bed at 1 p.m. this morning. And I tell you what, they were both nerve-wracking. There's many variations to the kick. There's the grubber, just to poke it in behind the defensive line. There's the kick for touch, to go long and gain a lot of territory. And there's the Carlos Spencer knee kick, if you've got the gout on the toe.
There you go. Yeah, get him to do a little bit of the hard yards. But yeah, no, they're definitely especially the homeschool videos that you did with your whānau, they were crack up. It was every video. My missus would come in and she would show me her phone and be like, "Watch this video. It's so funny." So it's definitely. I think especially with a lot of people going through some really tough times, it definitely brought a smile to my face, and I bet they brought a lot of smiles to the World Rugby community. So it was good. Thank you for that, and big thanks to Joey D. He killed those ones as well. Definitely some good workouts. But I know a lot of people know you on TV covering various rugby matches and working with World Rugby. But I'd love our listeners to get an insight into your rugby career and how you transition into broadcasting. So where did you start playing rugby? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Palmerston North, a little town in the North Island in New Zealand. Mum and dad, the family actually from Wellington, but dad was working there at the time, and I was born there. So in New Zealand, you start off rugby pretty early with the under fives, and you run around with no boots, and it's just bare feet and run around together with other little kids, So it all started there, and we've had a rugby family right from the get-go. I was lucky enough, my grandfather played for the New Zealand Māori and represented Wellington, and was a a selector for years down there with both the Māori and Wellington, and then obviously playing club rugby down there. And the uncles played, the old man played for Northland and Auckland and Waikato. So, I mean, it's always been in the family, and always as young kids we got brought up, around the ball. Sometimes it was a rugby ball, sometimes it was a tennis ball, and sometimes it was a cricket ball. You just got out there and ran around because you didn't want to stick around home because you got told to do chores. So, yeah. I mean, it was always one of those things, bro. You're out in the backyard and having a bit of fun with your cousins and neighbours and what have you. So, always been a sporty family, but rugby's always been the vehicle, I suppose, for us.
Did you grow up as a Hurricanes fan or a Chiefs fan, or who are you supporting?
Well, yeah, obviously born in Hurricanes territory, and mum and them still down there in Wellington. You have to play for, and I know I made my professional debut for the Wellington Lions, so it's in the blood, and granddad playing for them as well. But playing for Waikato, and I was lucky enough to play for the Chiefs. The old man played for Waikato, so he was staunch that side. So it's but you got to stick with your mum, bro. Okay, mum's always a mummy's boy.
Yeah, you have to. Mum feeds you, mum clothes you. So
that's right.
Yeah. So just moving into the Sevens. So back in '96, you began your career with New Zealand Sevens under the great Sir Gordon Tietjens. And how did that opportunity come about for you to go play for New Zealand?
They had these tournaments. It was back, I think it was they had an Adelaide tournament and all the Super Rugby teams. And it was back when it was like the Blue Bulls or Transvaal, I think they were in Northern Transvaal, and we all had a tournament in Adelaide, and Tietjens was there, and he was just looking at some other guys, and I was lucky enough to be playing for the Hurricanes then for that tournament, and went pretty good. And then he rang me up later on in the year. New Zealand had a World Rugby qualifier in Portugal, so just gave me. Someone got injured. I can't remember who got injured, but one of the wingers did, and I got the call up, and that was my first sort of taste of international rugby in the Sevens arena. And I really struggled. I'll be honest, Laura, for my first training. She was tough. Like all the stories were true, and the one thing I sort of learned straight off the get-go is I love the environment, and it was that work ethic that Tietjens and Eric Rush in particular really cultivated there in the Sevens. And my body didn't react very well to the trainings. They were tough, they were hard. It was the first time I've done that sort of extreme training. The nutrition side of it was also something new for me. And after eating rubbish for 17 odd years, or 18 I think I was, then having to go into that sort of professional environment, really struggled. But we were beating teams by 90 to 0, 100 to 0, 150 to 0, and I didn't get one try. But I loved the whole experience. I loved like being in that environment, and from there when I worked hard and got some results.
What was it like playing for arguably the greatest Sevens coach of all time, and some say one of the greatest coaches of all time?
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely in terms of Sevens, he's the best that's ever lived. I mean, the record speaks for itself. But I mean, for me, and I'm still good mates with Titch, and I think the beauty of what he was able to achieve is like he could get players mentally fit and probably, I suppose, push them to limits that they didn't even think they could get to, and that's probably why he's had so many All Blacks and to go through the Sevens program, and guys that probably wouldn't have been All Blacks if they hadn't gone through the Sevens system. So he teaches you a lot, and there's lessons that I've definitely learned, and I know other guys have learned from the Sevens and taking it to the 15s or applying it now outside of the rugby circles. So it's something that he's really been able to capture. And I suppose another good thing for him is like he's able to, how do I put this? He's able to he's one of those guys that can chill out with the boys, have a good time, but when he's on the field, it's time to go to work and who's in charge. And I think being able to go between different cultural groups has been a real positive for him, and probably a real reason why he was so successful with the New Zealand team that was always multicultural, I suppose.
I think, it's definitely something where if you can have some rapport with your players and still able to get that switch to turn it on where the boys need to really go elevate that kind of next level, it's something that not many coaches possess, and it's something where he's kind of a rare form. He's able to do that. I saw him with the Samoan Sevens team, and he's able to really connect with those boys, and obviously different culture, but he's had that experience. So something where, I definitely would aspire to be like that and able to have that kind of relationship with my players as a coach. But you've obtained quite an impressive resume during your sevens career with New Zealand. Just to name a few: 113 tries, leading try scorer during the 2001 Sevens series, Sevens World Cup winner in 2001, and a gold medal at the 2002 Commonwealth Games. Do you have a favourite moment in your sevens career?
Oh, you get to you remember some particular games. I suppose one of my favourite moments was the first time I led my country, and that was in Fiji against Uruguay of all countries. They were on the circuit then, and you always remember your first cap. But I think to run out first and be the captain, Eric Rush got injured on day 2, so I was lucky enough to get the call up, and it was the first time you get your captain's armband. So for me, all that hard work sort of led to that moment, and it's not something I particularly went looking for, but something I really enjoyed and thrived in, and really got to. I think it really helped me play as a player. Think about other people other than yourself, because when you're an individual in a team sport like sevens, you tend to just worry about yourself, get yourself prepared and do your normal routine. But when you're the captain, you got to sometimes put people in front of you. You got to think about how they're feeling and all these other situations that's going on, and pick up the slack where maybe the coach hasn't seen stuff or whatever the case may be. So that's always something that I hold special, rather than the trophies and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's definitely something that would be a big career changer, or definitely whether it's a milestone or not, something that would be very, very important in your career. But during your great career, you also got to play with some amazing players, the likes of the Jonah Lomus, the Eric Rushes, Mills Muliaina. Do you have any favourite person or group of people you like to play with during your career?
No, I mean, to be fair, we were really tight. The sevens is a lot smaller than a 15-a-side unit. So, I mean, we got really, really close, and that was a real secret of ours right from the get-go, was the environment that Titch and Eric Rush in particular created, and Eric passed it down to me, and I passed it down to Liam Messam, and so forth and so forth. And I think the thing is, because we trained so intensely, that when the player went down or got injured or what have you, another guy stepped in there, it didn't change our level of play. And I think that closeness on the field and going through those trainings led to off the field stuff as well. We're all tight as can be, and even till these days, it feels like it was just yesterday that we were running around talking jibber jabber to each other and going through those intense trainings, but that's how it was and still is, and we always use the caption that you might go away from the sevens family, but at some stage down in your life or down the track, or whether you go with other teams, you're always welcome back, so that's always what we've held strong amongst the group. And to this day, I know that they really hold that true as well. So even though I might not have played for a little while, I'm always welcome back into the group, and that's something we sort of hold tight and respect each other for whatever time you played in the jersey. So, I mean, in terms of players, you always have those special guys like Jonah. I was lucky enough to play, unlucky enough to play against Jonah, depending how you're looking at right from schoolboys. Him and Christian Cullen and Carlos Spencer and guys like that. So it's poor old Jonah, even though he passed before his time, he's one of those guys that I think was one not in a generation, but one in a lifetime type of bloke. We haven't seen anyone like him since, and I don't think we will. To be honest, he was our first global superstar, not only sevens but 15s. But he would always love the environment that we created, because no one cared if he was Jonah Long. No one cared if he was a superstar. Like Eric Rush would go tell him to pick up the water bowls just like everybody else, but he just loved being a part of that group and being treated as one of the boys, and that's why I love the environment.
I think that's what I love about the All Blacks kind of culture and community in general. Is it doesn't matter if you're a 100-test veteran, or it doesn't matter if you're a brand new person. It's definitely something where everybody is equal. Everybody is they do their hard yards, but in the same time they be treated as equal. So that's something that I really have always admired about being an All Blacks fan and loving the All Blacks. It's always about the culture. So.
And there's one thing that cracks you up. Like now you see everyone cleaning up the change rooms and this and that, and which is cool, which is obviously cool. But we were actually the first ones in New Zealand to start doing that. But we didn't feel the need to put it on social media or anyone tape it. It was just something that we wanted to do as a unit. That was our pride, to be able to come to a clean change room and leave it the way we found it. And sometimes I just find it funny how people feel the need to videotape that sort of stuff. It should be something that's ingrained in you, because that's the way you are as a person, as a team, and as a unit, to to pass on to other people. So for me, that's more of that no dickheads policy that everyone talks about. That I think that should just be a given, regardless, you know.
Well, I think if anybody's listening and they're looking to build a team culture or something like that, definitely listen to that message, and we'll go with the
bring the broom.
Yeah, bring the broom. And in your days of the Sevens tournaments, obviously the tournaments have expanded and they've gotten a lot more, I would say, popular, because obviously there are bigger turnouts and things like that. Do you feel there's a certain change that has gone from your day to the tournaments these days? Is it social media? Is it a bigger turnout? What's the biggest change?
Yeah. I just think the access and the and the social media for sure. I mean, when we played, we still had big crowds. I'll be honest, but I just think everything just goes out so instant now, you know, and there's a lot more around thinking in terms of broadcasting times for the big viewership and what have you. And obviously, once it became an Olympic sport, you know, that's the biggest stage you can ever get on. So obviously, that's given it a lot of traction as well, and deservedly so, you know. So you have to start somewhere to get to your destination. So it's really cool that you know, to be there from the start and now watch it grow to the beast that it is. It's a really, you know, I wouldn't say pride's the main thing, but it's just something that still amazes me to this day, to still be able to be involved in a game that I love, and I suppose be honoured that I can still be a part of it and in some small way, shape or form to try and help advance the game both on the men's and ladies side.
No, that's great. And like most prominent Sevens players, you also had a career in professional 15s as well. And you said you've played for a few different teams. But during the 2000 season, you were a part of the Highlanders. Was that correct?
Yep. Got come to the Highlanders. Yeah.
What was it like being a part of that organisation, like the Highlanders, with so much history and being a part of that competition?
Yeah, well, a lot of the boys that were in the Highlanders at the time, I played New Zealand schoolboys with. So yeah, I knew 90% of the lads anyway. So for me, it was a cool environment to go in. I was good mates with Tj Olsen. So if people don't know Tj Olsen, Jeff's at the time was one of the biggest superstars in the global game, along with Jonah. You know, they were our two winners for the All Blacks. And
I watch him every week on the breakdown. So yeah, he's definitely got a lot of history.
Yeah, I watch it on mute as well. So he's a good mate, he's a good mate, you know. So he welcomed me into his house. You know, he was a really private bloke, but he was lucky enough. He said I could come flat with him, and you know, he gave me his All Black car, and he's a really nice dude. So right from the get go, I was welcomed with open arms. And the one thing I sort of realised is that, you know, you've got to remember the time it was. My very first game, we played against Crusaders. We only just lost as the last pool game against him. And because I was new, and it was Anton Oliver's 50th cap, who's All Black, being All Black captain and hooker, we had to stand up the front and scull a jug. Now they have a big glass jug that's like this, and then they had the half jug, the plastic one like that. So Hatchet goes to me, "Which one do you want?" And I said, "I want the small one." So he just got the glass one and chucked it down, and I got the plastic one and chucked it in. And I just made it. I'm terrible at that sort of stuff, but you know, it was that sort of environment, like, you know, you get in there and have a drink and have a good time, and you know, you do your hard work on the footy field. So you know, it was a really cool experience to be down there. I actually slept in my tracksuit for a month because it was freezing. And for me, being up in the North Island, you know, we have decent temperatures. Down in the south, she's cold.
It's not fun. Yeah, it's definitely not fun. It was me and my girlfriend, we went camping down in the South Island. We did Queenstown. We did the whole area, and she was just sitting there not expecting it. She brought hoodies and track pants and everything like that. But then still, when she got down there, she was like, "It's bloody freezing." So,
it's like going from California to Denver. No.
Yeah, so much different. And then it's not even that far away. Yeah. But in the same year, you also went up to Auckland. You were part of the NPC side for North Harbour. So do you have any favourite memories from that season? And obviously going from Super Rugby to NPC, you get a lot more opportunity to kind of rip open and play your style of rugby, I guess, because there's more freedom in the NPC. What was that season like?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like I said, I started my debut at Wellington, and then met a lot of the boys in the sevens, and we sort of, you know, collaborated there. And then a lot of the sevens lads like Garrick and Rua Tipoki and Glenn Osborne were up in North Harbour. So they said, "Come up here, we'll have a jam up there." And I thought, "Oh yeah, no, it sounds pretty cool." So ended up there and had a really good time with the lads. You know, it's some real characters. That was back in the days. You had the characters, and my very first pre-season with North Harbour, we went down to the top of the South Island, a place called Marlborough, and we had Walter Little, you know, All Black at the time, and Glenn Osborne and Rushy and Slade McFarlane, all these All Black guys and experienced dudes. And I won't say who it was, but there was a couple of senior players who we got down there. They drank all night, didn't go to sleep, went straight to the hotel, got their training boots. We went to training, and they absolutely smashed it. And that was my first introduction to how these old school boys do it. You know, they can party hard, but they also train just as hard. You know, so it was basically if you're going to do the crime, you got to do the time. And you know, we had a really enjoyable time because we had a lot of good lads that you know, they wanted to train hard and do well and be part of a successful group. So it was a province that sort of was the little brother to Auckland and took a long time to establish itself. And we had one of our greatest All Black number 8s and Buck Shelford as our coach, so we had a lot of respect for him. You know, so it's you know, we had a great management team, and then we had that senior leadership, so we had a decent time.
Yeah, Buck definitely, he knew my grandfather growing up, he knew my kuro, and I got to know the Shelford family pretty well when they came over to Santa Barbara as well. They brought the New Zealand Sporting Institute over, and they did a haka for all the Americans there, and they sung some awesome waiata. So it was definitely a great experience for a lot of Americans here. And Shelford, he's definitely a legend in the game. Yeah, he's awesome. But we'll transfer into kind of your broadcasting career, and obviously you've got a great personality, and you seem really comfortable in front of the camera or commentating rugby matches. When did you decide to make the transition to becoming a commentator, an analyst, or just being in front of a TV?
It was sort of by fluke, I'll be honest. I finished off my career in Japan, and then I brought my son back because he was starting to get in. He was going to high school, so he wanted to play rugby at a decent level. So we made the move to come back, and I was down Wellington seeing the families, and I ran into a guy who was a Kiwi guy who's the executive producer for World Rugby. He used to just direct all the games on the circuit, so I knew who he was, and I'd had intermittent sort of meetings and catch-ups. You know, you wave as you go by, and I didn't actually really know what he did. So we ended up having breakfast, just walking. We ran into each other, said, let's go for breakfast. And he explained what he did. I said, that sounds pretty cool. And he goes, he knew I was working on the Wellington Sevens for Sky TV. So he said, all right, come into the truck and I'll show you what I do. So I went in there and I saw the TV screens, and he goes, right, I'll see a game. He goes, I'll cut to that screen, I'll cut to that screen, I'll cut to that screen. And it was just like playing footy. You know, I got that instant buzz about, you know, that live game and cutting and seeing what feeling the vibe that he was trying to show and the story that he was trying to tell the people watching at home. So right from the get-go, I was sort of hooked, and we sort of left it there. And the TV station, once that series had finished, they said, look, the lads of New Zealand Sevens team have won. Do you want to go and interview them at the airport? And I said, yeah, we'll go have a laugh. So I went and interviewed the lads, had a blinder, and then Sky TV saw it and said, look, you want to come and do a game? I said, I don't know how good or bad I'll be. I said, no, just come and have a try. Yeah. And it's actually it was a North Harbour game. Actually, it was just they won the Shield. So I went down there, and they're playing some third division team, and had another blinder. And they said, do you want to do a couple of games for the NPC, the National Provincial Championship? And I think I only maybe got about 3 or 4 games. Yeah. And then started learning and getting a few more games under the belt, and year by year learning the trade. And you know, I was sort of getting into the coaching at that stage, and it got to the point where I was getting into the provincial stuff and had to make a call whether to carry on with the coaching or the TV. But for me, the TV was the thing that really got to me and got the juices flowing. So I sort of picked that, and you know, it's been a hard road, but and a long one. But you know, obviously loving what I'm doing now.
Do you think that if your broadcasting career ever does end, or if you kind of transition out of it, do you think you would transition into coaching?
Nah. I sort of figured out, like, you have to be a special person, and it has to be within your heart. And like, I don't mind going along and doing spot coaching. I love that. But for full time, for me, probably not so much. In saying that, I'm probably going to coach my daughter's high school team this year. But that's good. Yeah, that's a long story. But yeah, I tried the coaching and it full time. It's just what wasn't for me. Wasn't for me. So I don't mind getting back to the schools and stuff. But the TV, I think I've got goals after the TV career where I want to get to in terms of World Rugby and administration, probably more so where I want to get on after finishing the comms.
Okay, that's awesome. That's at least you know. It's a lot of people, they want to transition into coaching and they just throw it all in, but they don't really do the kind of the mental capacity check. So it's good that you're content with it and you know what you want to do. So, has there been a favourite match or tournament you've covered during your career?
I mean, I've always loved Hong Kong right from the get-go. I was my first World Cup there in '97. I was lucky enough to be there when they handed over the English handed back to the Chinese, and it's just a special place, And I suppose it's one for us in New Zealand. It was the biggest tournament. We always got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch when we saw the Jonas and the Rushies and the Cullies play there. And every time I just get to that stadium, I just get that feeling because you sort of equate it to a Masters in golf or a Wimbledon in tennis. It's just the spiritual home of the game of sevens. And it's just something unique about it, and to even play there is an honour, but to be able to stand up on the podium on Sunday is something quite special and something that I always remember that, we probably had to work extra hard for some reason or another. That carrot brought the best out of teams, and every time they played against New Zealand or Fiji, we had to play the extra bit better. So to be able to get to the mountaintop after those long 3 hard days was always something special.
I spoke to Israel Dag a couple of months ago, and he said the most difficult thing he found as a sports analyst or kind of a broadcaster is interviewing his friends or former teammates. And he said that he's still trying to find a balance between analysing his friends' gameplay by critiquing them, but still providing constructive criticism without giving them like a spray. So is there anything you found difficult in your career as a broadcaster?
Oh yeah, and exactly that. Being an ex-player and that's the skill, and not trying to you don't want to bag anyone. That's not what you're there for. You're there to try and say why something happened or why it didn't happen. And when you got mates in there, it's tough, but it doesn't mean to say you have to bag them. You can say it on the positive side instead of like, hey, that guy missed a tackle. Oh, that was an awesome step to get through that tackle or create that mismatch or whatever the case may be. And Dagger, he's a good boy, and I've been trying to help him out actually with a lot of that stuff in terms of that. And like anything, it's time in the saddle, and it's been in the chair, and it is very hard. But you find out what works for you and what doesn't. And for me, I always try and commentate in a positive way. And I think sometimes supporters or people that are listening take it as bias. That's one thing I sort of have noticed. Like Fiji might do an awesome try, so get all excited about that. So whoever Fiji are playing, the opposition say, oh, he's biased, but if that team does something awesome, then I not that I try and talk them up, but I enjoy great rugby, So if that comes across as like that, then so be it. But for me, good footy is good footy. A good step's a good step. A good hit's a good hit. So if I get excited about that, then I can't help it, and it is what it is. And so it's something you got to put up with the media. That's probably one thing I'd say. It took me a long time to get over is people being negative, and because when I was playing, they couldn't do that, because we always won and we did our yards and whatever. So a lot of people weren't like that. But as soon as you get over, in terms of media, some people just aren't going to like you. That's just the way it is, whether it be the sound of your voice or how you say things. And there's always going to be a small portion. Not everyone's going to like one particular commentator, and it goes for anyone who's ever commentated, whether it be Keith Quinn or Bill McLaren. They have people that don't like them as well. And as soon as you realise that you're not going to please everyone, but hopefully, if it comes from the right place, more people like you than won't. So I mean, that's all I try and do. As soon as I got over that, then then you can sort of move on and get past what some negative comments may be, because it is going to happen regardless.
Yeah, definitely. I think I saw you on the breakdown. I think it was what two weeks ago, and you and Jeff was on one side and JK was on the other side, and then I think they were giving two completely different points of view, and they turned and they asked you, and you gave your opinion, and it was straight down the middle, and you could just see JK doing his classic look, just sitting there, just going, "Come on, give me something controversial. Don't be the nice guy." So, but it's definitely something where it's like you say what you want to do, and whether people say it's a negative thing or you're being biased, I guess that's their opinion. That's going to happen in the media regardless. But you just do you, brother, because I know a lot of people that enjoy your media and everything that you do. So no stress. But just before we jump into the bonus questions that I've got for you, the last year you're on a panel to decide the World Rugby's Women's 15s Player of the Year. Who, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Emily Scarlett. Is that correct?
Emily Scarlett, yeah.
Scarlett, yeah. And what was that experience like to help decide an award that's so important to World Rugby?
No, it was really cool, especially doing it at the World Cup. So got to help out with that, and both the winners for the men's and ladies sevens. So it's it's a process, bro. I'll tell you, it's a process. But fair enough, to be able to figure out who's going to be the best player on the planet and what they do is a really privileged position. We have quite a robust sort of discussions about it, and we have different stages of the year where we put in our players that we think are achieving, and we get whittled down. And there's quite a few people. I'm not going to say quite a few. I suppose there's about eight people involved with the sevens, and maybe six, I think, with the 15-a-side ladies. So it was cool, man. It was something I've obviously got a lot of interest in and follow. And Emily, she's a good lady, and she's been doing it well for a very long time. And when you look across the globe and see all these amazing players, trying to whittle it down to three, let alone one's a tough gig, But from what I get out of it is, regardless of where you are on the planet, you can be the best in the world. It's just whether you want to put the yards in wherever you may be. You might be in a field in California, might be in a field in Te here in Auckland. But if you go and do those yards and put in some hard work and back yourself and get some good coaching and what have you, then anything's achievable. I've noticed that the USA are starting to get a good program now with their women's side and are starting to achieve something, especially on the sevens. They beat New Zealand a couple of times, but the 15s ain't too far away as well. So, I just think there's a great platform for a lot of our athletes now to be superstars in the game, whether it be 15s or 7s.
No, definitely. I think that's why I moved over to one of the reasons why I moved over to the US was because I saw that potential, and the US have done that before. They've taken sports that aren't theirs, and they train, they put in the effort, and they become superstars at it. And that says it for all around the world. Nobody ever thought that I think the US men's side would ever be second, ranked two in the nation. So, in the world, I mean, but it's something where, you have to sit there and go, just because they don't have the generic or something like the rugby platform that say New Zealand or Australia or England have, doesn't mean they can't perform. So that's definitely right. Well, it's called the bonus point for a reason. And instead of me kind of creating a bonus point question, I thought we'd go to our listeners and to our fans and get a couple of questions to ask you. And they are about sevens, obviously, because you've had such a big career in sevens. And I think the first question that came was from my friend Cameron, who's out of New York. He said, "What is your favorite seven stop on the current circuit and why?" What would it be?
Vegas was pretty decent. I'll give you the drum.
Until they had to move it down the road from me. Yeah, there you go.
No, but I mean, I love the States. I mean, apart from Hong Kong, I just spoke about the traditional side of it. But I love America. I love going there. I love the shopping. I love everything about the place, And that's always, for me, one of my favorites is, I'm a mad shopper, bro. I can't lie. So I'll just go nuts. I come over empty. Before this year's LA Sevens, I flew over. My boy was playing professionally for Old Glory DC. So I got a direct flight to Houston. He was playing Houston. Watched him. The lads come in for a few beers in my room, took all my clothes, and then I bought a whole lot when I got to LA. So it's I didn't mind that so much. So I love LA. I took the family there for a holiday just before that. So, man, we love it. No, that's definitely a favourite for me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do the same thing. They go over with an empty suitcase and they come back with a full one. So it's definitely very easy to throw all your savings onto a lot of your clothes.
And I don't like skiting, but I will this time. One of my mates, I said, "Look, I'm coming over. Can you sort us out some tickets for the basketball?" So he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll flick you a couple." So he gave me a couple, 4 tickets. We went to see the Lakers play the Pelicans. So LeBron was playing Zion. And honestly, I was actually really disgusted that I got a whole suite for me and my mates. I hated every second of it, the suite, everything. It was terrible at the centre there. Oh, mate.
That would have been a good. Who ended up winning that game?
Oh, LeBron. LeBron kicked his ass.
Has to.
Yeah, he was the man.
Superstar coming through Zion though. He'll be an interesting player come the next 5-10 years. As long as another shoe doesn't explode, then I think he'll be okay.
He's a big boy. Like, man, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's trimmed down a little bit, but you still see the fit and the kind of the build that he's got. He's one of a kind. He's insane. But I think second question: if you could choose one person today to play with or play against, who would it be? So you could either choose one of each, or you can just choose one. It's up to you.
Oh, I'd love to play with Jerry too. Actually, no. I'll change that. I'll love to play with Perry. I'll love to play with Perry. I'll just give it to him. Just go, mate. Just go. He's
probably the most like elusive, one of the most elusive players I've ever seen in my life play on sevens, especially in America. Because even if he doesn't have that much space, he's able to create something out of nothing, and that's something you really love watching as a sevens player or a sevens admirer. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the thing I've really noticed about Perry, he's a very astute guy. So if he's not scoring them, he's creating. And that's one thing I've really noticed. And guys try to put shots on him, and he's deceptively strong, man. Like, he's got that swerve I think he got from the arena football when he was playing. And then you just can't get a decent shot on him. He's never been cut in half yet. So that just shows you how elusive he is. And he's got good peripherals too, because he's always looking scope wide, not just
definitely. Yeah, it's never tunnel vision for him. He always knows what's around him. And yeah, definitely those ballerina moves whenever he does take contact and he's still able to spin out of it. Impressive. Man.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you so much, Karl. I know it's a busy time for you, obviously, with Super Rugby Aotearoa going on, and you with Sky Sports and World Rugby and everything else. But I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope a lot of people will get a good insight into your career, and hopefully some people will follow in your footsteps and make the jump to broadcasting or something like that from professional rugby. So, is there anything else you wanted to share before I let you go?
No. I just want to say thanks for teaming us up. I know it's been a bit of a process. We've been trying to work out the schedules and whatever, but I think the main thing I want to get the message out there, regardless if you're playing or want to get into a broadcasting career, I reckon being involved in rugby, whether it be 7s or 15s or any facet, it's a great way to meet a lot of friends, obviously, but to be able to create those sort of good habits and pathways. And I think the one thing I sort of learned is if you're ready to put the hard yards in and back your abilities, because you know you got them, then anything can happen. I'm a small town kid that was able to get to the top of my craft in rugby and transfer those skills over to the TV broadcasting, and now working for World Rugby and starting to get into administration boards there, So to go from a little place in New Zealand to be able to try and be in administration of World Rugby and follow my goals and my dreams, it's achievable. So you can rise from anywhere. It's just whether you're willing to put yourself out there and you're going to fail. I failed a lot of times, but I achieved more and learned off those failures to get to where I am. So if there's one thing, it's like put yourself out there, give it a nudge, and you never know where you'll end up.
Definitely live by those words, that Michael Jordan mentality. So yeah, definitely. All the best to you in your career. I really hope I see you go to wherever you want to go, to the top of wherever you want to be in World Rugby or whatever it is you want to do. I think you'll definitely achieve that.
Well, next time we're in the LA when the Sevens go, we'll have to tee-style me up, my mate.
Nah, definitely, bro. Definitely. I'd love you to come try some kombucha, and then definitely we can tee something up. I'll show you around town and get you some good stuff around here. But all the best to you, all the best to your whānau, and we'll talk soon. All right.
You too, brother. Stay safe.
Thank you very much for joining the Bonus Point podcast.